The word good is not necessarily a word all of us would define the same way. Like how you think of good might be different than how I think of good. If I said to you, what sounds good for dinner tonight, your answer might be different than my answer. Like the word good is this subjective word. I want us, though, to have some agreement on how to define the word good. If we're calling the series The Good Life, if we're talking about this word good out of verse 28, then how do we land on a definition, a working definition that we're all like, yeah, that's it. So I spent some time this week going through some different dictionary definitions of a familiar word, good. And I really only found one definition that I thought we could all agree on. It's a simple two-word definition of good, not bad. Like that, whatever good is, it's at least not bad. It's not bad. And yet, we feel this tension if we're honest. Because we talk about good and the goodness of God and the good life as defined in Scripture, and we are pretty aware that the world has a lot of bad. And that's not just true globally, like that's true personally. You could tell your own stories of some bad that you're walking through. And how do you resolve the tension with the existence of bad and the goodness of God? Romans 8, verse 28 is this beautiful promise that God works all things together for good. But one of the things I've learned is that when you're talking to people who are in the middle of bad, that promise is hard to speak. It can feel a little bit simplistic because, and I think we're all alike in this, no one likes easy answers for hard questions. No one really wants like these simplistic explanations for difficult circumstances. For example, the phrase no pain, no gain, to me falls under this category. I remember the first time I heard that. Middle school, I was at the orthodontist. My teeth were still hurting from the last time the orthodontist had tightened my braces. Now he's tightening them even more. And I'm kind of complaining, my mouth hurts. And he says to me, first time I remember hearing this, no pain, no gain. Okay, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. That doesn't mean a lot when you're in the middle of the pain. I remember hearing it again in high school. We were running sprints in basketball, and our coach, he had this thing where he'd sit on the bleachers and eat popcorn that he'd probably stolen out of the concession stand, and as he's eating popcorn, he would yell at us while we're running sprints, "Hey fellas, no pain, no gain." Kind of annoying, really. Not very helpful, not super encouraging. A similar phrase I heard once, my wife doesn't remember this, but it's probably for the best, like she's blocked it out. When she was in labor with our second, giving birth naturally, doctor says to her in the middle of that labor, "Embrace the pain." I hope she didn't hear. If you're a doctor, especially a male doctor, and you keep track of things not to say to a patient who's in labor, put that on there. Like, don't say embrace the pain. Now, what he said may be true. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. You might as well embrace it, but you need to not say that. If you're a man talking to a woman who's in labor, you probably should just be quiet. How about that? Because when someone, you can't applaud for that. So if someone's in the middle of pain, like some pithy saying isn't super helpful. And I guess I feel a little concern around that. That when I talk about Romans 8, verse 28, that some of you will feel like, Kyle, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm dealing with. And for you to say God works all things together for the good when I'm walking through so much bad feels a little bit dismissive, at least feels minimizing. Let's look at the verse 28, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose.